red, blue, purple light. Red, blue, purple light. Friends, facts. Red, blue, purple light. Friends, red and blue, purple light. Friends, facts. You can get to know the ledger, sacrilegious Sunday to melanin Monday. You can get to know the ledger, my love. Just open your third eye on Thursday. Lord, the food, the art, the clothes, the Vatican's getting exposed fast. We put the show on the road. You better stay on your toes. I was till the land focused on the ego. Then I opened my heart, let go of the ego. Grand after grand, we stacking up these C notes. Facts, facts, yeah. If we don't put this shit on our backs. Facts, facts. We in your city, pull up where we at. Facts, facts. Peace, love and light. Peace, love to the family. Peace, love and light to the family. Peace, love and light to the family.
These days and time, black man, is going to be the time that you have been waiting for. You came here for a reason. Whatever pressure, whatever adversity, whatever the fuck you feel, I don't know what you feel, but whatever you may be feeling is going to push you, and it's going to provoke you, and it's either going to make you or break you, similar to how pressure busts pipes or the shit makes diamonds.
Peace to the family, peace to you and yours. Peace to the family, peace to you and yours. Welcome, welcome, welcome to another episode of Melanin Mondays. You are now rocking with the best. Yes, this is your host for the evening, Brother Red Pillar, reporting live and direct. All right. Peace to the family. How is everybody doing tonight? All right. On this beautiful Monday night. Or it might be Tuesday. We passed midnight and whatnot, but it was Easter Monday a few minutes ago. Let me know how we sounding on the mic before we even get this thing going. You dig? It's a little time delay, so you gotta be patient. But excelente, all right. First and foremost, I want to apologize for Blue Pillar, Pope Pablo, right? He had a show schedule, but there was some technical difficulties, and Pope Pablo was not able to broadcast tonight. He had a monumental presentation that he was going to deliver. So Pope Pablo is headed to conclave. Yeah, they sent a G5 for him, so he had to pack up and hit the road, Jack. But make no mistake, he will be back. He will be doing Mineral Ministries. This is a very special episode. He will be doing Mineral Ministries very tomorrow. I mean, as soon as the sun rises and whatnot, he will be here. So make no mistake about it. Pope Pablo will be in the building delivering his sermon and whatnot. He's taking in a lot right now. I left him a little while ago. There's a lot going on in Pope Pablo's existence. As you know, the Pope has made transition. So Pope Pablo is observing a lot of things. This was a specific prediction. This was a pillar prophecy. If anybody saw the lecture When in Rome, who saw When in Rome? We just did When in Rome with B-Dell, 1014, and we also did it with Alkebalon 44, who in the audience had the opportunity to see When in Rome. Because if you did, you would be able to you would be privy to the pillar prophecies and the fact that Blue Pill kind of laid it out, and for all of my holy people in the building, all of my Catholics especially and whatnot, Blue Pillar is a seer, right? Blue Pillar he utilizes his he utilizes the science. He does not cast spells. He is not a quote unquote he's not a sinner. Blue is not a vampire. You know what I'm talking about? Blue only calls it how he sees it based off of the information that's provided to him. Blue is a soothsayer, right? You know, he's a soothsayer. He's not doing roots. So I just have to clarify that for the record. I don't want anybody to be offended this of the faith and whatnot. I don't want to be anyone. I don't want anyone to be offended by the pillar prophecies and whatnot. Everybody has a day. You know what I'm talking about? So shout out to him. And I really look forward to hearing what the brother has to say. We did a taping of Blurred Lines earlier. We have a podcast that me and his good brother have. We probably at episode 7 or 8 at this point. And we had a powerful episode. I hope y'all get to see it. You feel me? We had a powerful episode with a powerful discussion about the Pope's transition and whatnot. And hopefully tonight we will continue that conversation. I have an alumni, a KTL alumni who goes all the way back to the Blog Talk Radio days. We have put out countless classics with this brother. And the brother that I'm speaking of is our good brother, none other than Brother OBA. All right, we have Brother OBA as a guest tonight. This will be his introduction to some of you in the audience, some of the KTLians who just have been joining us over the past year or two. So, yeah, we look forward to that. We're going to have a beautiful conversation. There's a lot going on, yo. There's a lot going on. I shit you not. There's a lot going on. So we're going to attempt to cover some things tonight, but we don't necessarily have to cover everything at once. Feel me? We don't got to cover everything at once. You know what I mean? We could take our time with this because there's a lot to cover. So yeah, man, let's do the roll call. Let's see who's in the building. Peace to everybody pulling up. You feel me on this late night broadcast. Shout out to everybody in the building, all of my KTLians. Please give a shout out to my mod, Copper Moon. Please give a shout out to my mod, Copper Moon, and give a shout out to Dennis the Menace. All right. Shout out to all of my mods holding it down. Okay. Decatur in the building. Milwaukee in the building. Kentucky in the building. All right. Delaware in the building. All right. We have Palos Verdes, Los Angeles in the building. We got Shreveport, Elizabeth City. You feel me? Shreveport in the building. 7 Mile, Detroit. San Antonio, Texas to H-Town, Texas. All right. St. Petersburg, Cape Verde up in this thing. Palm Beach. Shout out to Palm Beach. Shout out to St. Louis. All right. East Texas. Hey. Shout out to East Texas on the trail dance. You know what I'm talking about? Shout out to East Texas up in this thing. Shout out to Tucson, AZ, Norfolk. We got the Bronx in the building. We got Sunbury in the building. Salute from the old New York. All right. New Bedford, San Antonio, Jersey. We got LA in the building, 3-city state. We got Vallejo. We got Oklahoma, Connecticut. We got South Carolina. And then South Carolina right after that was popping, South Carolina. Bridgeport in the building. Oklahoma in the building. All right. Canada in the building. Virginia Beach in the building. Bay Area, Cincinnati. So, yeah. How many people in the building were privy this weekend or this strong in and saw the movie Sinners? How many people saw the movie Sinners this strong in? Michael B. Jordan, Ryan Coogler. How many people were privy to see it? I actually just came back from watching it. I said to myself, there's no way possible that I could do the show and not have seen the movie. Y'all were gonna beat me up. You know what I mean? I was, you know, my $1 million question is, where do y'all find the time? Because I literally couldn't find the time to go to the movies this whole strong in. I really couldn't find the time. I'm like, damn, how does everybody? I'm waking up, motherfuckers is like, yo, I saw that shit. I'm like, y'all are cool. Y'all good. You know what I mean? Y'all better than me because y'all made that shit a priority. The mid credit, yes, and the after credit. It was a good flick. It was a good flick. You know what I mean? It was definitely a good flick. Very thought provoking. It's a kind. I might have to see it twice. I had a lot of things going on while I was in the movie, like helping. You know, I was waiting for Blue to reach out to me to do the Pope Pablo show. I had misplaced my fronts, my gold teeth, my grill. There was a lot going on. You know what I mean? I literally was in aisle A of the movie theater. So you know what that is? That's when you gotta sit directly in the front and lean your neck back like a crane. You feel me? But it was a good movie. I caught a lot. You know what I mean? I caught a lot. The most obvious, of course, we don't even have to, you know, you don't need to be a decoder to see the red and the blue. The red and the blue, the homage that he paid to the red and the blue throughout the movie with the twins, right? This movie is about twins and not just regular twins. These are gangster twins. These are gangster twins. You know what I mean? These are gangster twins. They got fronts and all kind of shit. You know what I'm talking about? And it was played by Michael B. Jordan. He was an actual twin. But I will have, you know, my review. I will have how, you know, I don't know if we'll do it tonight right away, but definitely me and Blue have to tackle this. We got to get this conversation going. You know, we got to chop it up with the people about this. This is definitely one of those movies where it's gonna have a lot of thought pieces. Okay, KT's doing a show tomorrow on his as he should. As he should. As he should. You know, KT is the one who I really want to sit back and hear. What did you see, my young brother, my young Padawan? Take me into your world. You know what I mean? Take me into your world. Give me your vision, KT. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what he does. He has sight beyond sight, right? So I look forward to hearing from my younger brother. This is my blood brother, my younger brother KT, the arch degree. He's gonna deliver one. But I want to see what Blue Pill has to say. Shit. This Blue Pill is gonna go crazy on it. You know what I'm saying? Blue Pill is gonna go crazy on it. You know what I mean? You know, so I really wanna I'm just sitting back waiting. Red pill is stack and blue is smoke. Stack and smoke. You know, stacks and smokes. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. What I walked away from that movie knowing, right? Not believing in anything. What I walked away from that movie knowing is we have a lot of stories that we need to tell. This is the premise of why I'm doing what I'm doing with this AI workshop and whatnot, because I'm encouraging our brothers and sisters, right, who we affectionately call KTLians. I'm like, look, everything starts with a good story. You feel me? Everything starts with a good story. Like, we have stories to tell. So it just showed you. And if you know how to shoot the story, right? If you know how to shoot the story, man, it's a touchdown. It is a touchdown, bro. If you know how to execute a good story, then you literally have the keys to the universe, right? So you took your wife to see it. So who's gonna help me in the paperwork to go get my royalties from Ryan Coogler? That's the $1,000,000 question. Like, which one of y'all legal eagles in the audience that have a little bit of you know what I'm talking about? A little bit of paperwork. So I need my royalty check. I'm tired of these Negroes coming around. You feel me? It was a jaw blending genre movie. Yes, yes, yes. But yeah, he definitely got to cut the check. Let's cut the BS and get right to it. You know what I'm talking about? Let's cut the BS and just get right to it. Like, what are we doing? But I'm not gonna keep running my mouth, ladies and gentlemen. My guest is in the building. You feel me? So I'm gonna go ahead and open up the floor without any further ado. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring to you none other than our good brother OBA in the building. Peace to the God. I can't hear you.
Peace to the gods. What's good?
Peace. What was good, man?
What's good, twin?
Hey. What's
good,
poppin'?
twin?
What's good, twin? Man.
Nah, I got you. Listen, we're in a new world. It's a new pope, man.
Man.
It's a new pope.
Mom went to sleep on 420, smoking a bunch of Zaza and rapper weed and whatnot, and woke up with a Francis pack. That's crazy.
Nah, son, this is being Taurus, man. This is about that shit. This is about the land. Feel me? It's the earth shit. So,
right.
You know, he's a. I mean, you gotta be, we always on our, what I'm saying, tinfoil shit, but like he was a very strange pope from the very beginning. You know what I'm saying?
Sure. Yes.
The way he took over the last pope situation. So, and they were saying that there was a Nigerian that was supposed to have been elected. Yeah, that was supposed to have been elected, but they didn't want that to happen.
The first time.
Yeah.
Right. They was throwing that out there about a black pope the first time after Benedict.
Yeah.
Who happened to be the patron saint of, Benedict the Moor and whatnot.
I mean, it's unfortunate that they still have this skin racism about them, man. It's unfortunate for them. You know what I'm saying? But it is, like I said, we can be very clear that we can necessarily we can expect that to be some strange shit going on. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Right around on Easter, the nigga kicked the bucket on the Easter weekend.
On Easter Monday.
Yes.
Facts. On an Easter Monday. Like, that's some different shit. Talk about symbology. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. That should mean something, like, you know what I mean? On Easter Sunday, the pump time that night.
That night, because look, he was on TV. It wasn't like he wasn't active. It wasn't like he was in the hospital Son was doing a sermon. He met with JD Vance. He was, you know how they say it's not how you start the race, it's how you finish it. AA got an intro on West Side where he says that. Like, Son finished his race, he finished his breakfast like on his feet. Keep in mind, this is a Pope who had 2 collapsed lungs from pneumonia.
Yeah, I mean, you know, like I said, we don't know what's coming in, what's the new era that's coming in, man. You know what I mean? I'm never prophetic about nothing that I don't really, if I didn't have some type of experience, if I had some type of epiphany, something. But I will say there's some strange shit going on. Have you noticed?
Right.
have you noticed that George Washington on the quarter is facing in a different direction?
Wow. I've heard about that, but I ain't really even paid that much mind. But I did hear about that.
Nah, son, there's something with that.
Mm-hmm.
There's something with that. You hear me?
Yeah.
There's something with that. With the, like, would they just change the direction of the face of that's suspicious, man.
Well, last show that we had on Saturday, we had a Saturday Night Live broadcast, and we were reacting to the report that came out where an aide from the White House, he was at a lecture, and when he didn't think the cameras were on, or when he didn't think that he was being quote unquote recorded, he basically said that the American government can manipulate time and space, right? He got reprimanded for it and kind of tried to backtrack, but at that point it was too late. People started doing a little dig on him and whatnot. By him saying that, it sparked, of course, a lot of online chatter about the Mandela effect and, you know, this whole thing about Barron Trump and Donald Trump being time travelers because of their uncle and whatnot. And then the books that have came out, you know, and then, you know, it's so many other little things. But I pointed out the fact that the Marvel universe or the fantasy complex industry, they've been inundating people with this whole quantum realm, multiverse, time jumping, time variance. You know what I mean? Like, they've really been hearkening on this thing a lot.
Well, you know, I mean, so we on KTL. So remember back in the days when we didn't have no camera, we was on KTL. We talked about this.
Right.
I told you, I was like, I'm something with them white boys playing around with time. They've been changing shit, right?
They've been changing shit because you was like, a lot shit is everything is too much in alignment with their shit, right? There's no receipts on, like, when did y'all get that though? You know what I'm saying?
Okay. So now I have another wacky tinfoil idea that I believe that Bezos and them started whitewashing the books. So
Right.
if you go back to his core you know, purpose, originally he started out as a book sharing.
Amazon was a bookstore.
Okay. So now what happens when you move into your great grandmother's house or your grandmother's house and they got all these books that you ain't fitting to read, right? You know, we're just talking about, you know, in terms of like a broad stroke of people, they ain't fitting to read them books. So now you find out there's this thing called Amazon and you can send these books in.
Yeah.
Right? That they want to know. They want these certain books. Now
They
you
want
send
them
those
books,
books
right?
in, they could get
They
rid of
pay you
those
top
books.
dollar for them.
Right, but they could get rid of those books now
Right.
and reprint them with a whole new skedaddle.
Right.
And you'll be like, oh, nah, it's in the book.
It's in the
Yeah, I
book,
bet
right?
it is.
Right.
This shit is about to line you up. So because, you know, when you think about it, like realistically, okay, so he started out with a book sharing thing and then he started doing what, carrying like packages. It wasn't like that shit was a new thing. They already had UPS and FedEx
UPS and
and all kinds of
everything.
shit.
Right.
Yeah,
You
he didn't.
become a courier.
Yeah, the nigga didn't motherfucking revolutionize the shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, how did he? So how did this nigga get all this rich? Because he got
Right.
these books. That's just my tinfoil. You know what I'm saying? 10 cents. So
Right.
they've been playing with this whole time thing, and you know, you see it with the things that they try to, like, how they kind of changing the narrative, the shit. And you know, there's a couple of people that broke the ice where they was like, nah, nigga, I got the Bernstein's bears.
Burns, right. Not the
They had the book.
Berenstein
They
Bears,
had the
the
book.
Bernstein.
They had the book, and it's like you can really change things because everybody is so distracted with this Black Mirror. So everybody's looking at that. You could be doing, you know what I'm saying, all kinds of sleight of hand shit is right in front of motherfuckers that they wouldn't know because they're
Right.
looking through this thing.
Super facts.
And this shit. So the point, yo. So now. Today I heard some crazy shit about Kanye, and the niggas was like, "Nah, that shit is AI." You heard that shit today?
Yeah, I heard that. I didn't hear them say it was AI.
Nah, I listened to that shit. Ain't him.
It's a
Like,
song you saying?
there's some song, and they saying that he's
Okay.
talking about touching on his cousin,
His cousin and everything.
Yeah,
But
son.
yeah.
If you listen to the music is not even up to par to be in his drive
And his
Understand?
caliber.
Yeah,
Right.
It's not even something that he would throw away. You feel me? But you have to be careful now because you and I know that the AI can now, and all you need is 25 keywords and inflections. That shit will start reading, you know what I'm saying? And it'll do your voice and have you talking like a motherfucker and calling people. You know what I'm
Straight
saying?
up.
And making plans.
Straight up.
Feel me?
Face swap. Deep, what is that?
Deep seek.
Not deep seek, when they take your deep fake.
Deep fake, yeah. So you got to imagine that nothing that you see that's on a film can you even
It could
really
be
trust.
authenticated, right? You can't, you can't really say what's real or not.
So,
If they're giving the average quote unquote person the ability to use AI to do like a Sora or like a Kling 2 output or the Google VO2 outputs, imagine what the company or the government has. You
of
feel
course.
me?
Of
Like
course.
this shit is compared. This is like my first Sony compared to what they could do. So yeah, all of that. Oh, we have you on tape, and there's a video of you, and that person looks like this person. They had a shiesty on. His body frame is the same. Nah, nigga, none of that none of that matters anymore. You can't hold me
Photoshop
to
is
that,
real
bro.
good now.
Huh?
You feel me? That Photoshop real good now.
Photoshop real good.
Feel me?
You feel me? They got Photoshop video though, where they could literally put your body, because there's an app called Viggle. So you see the little yachty shit where they keep taking that scene and like the Joker is doing it, then Donald Trump is doing it. That's the version 1 that they're giving to the consumer. There's a version 10 or 20 and whatnot that these other companies, private companies and enterprise have access to. You know, the government is 100 years ahead in tech. Why wouldn't they be?
Well, shit. You know, when I be playing with the chat, it be doing certain. It got little restrictions on it. You feel me? It got a governor.
They got guardrails.
Yeah.
You got guardrails. They can be broken. It could be jailbroken like anything else, but there are guardrails. When you go to China, though, however, and then when you go on Hugging Face and you go on these quote unquote open source models and whatnot, there's no guardrails, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the things that they would like to regulate, is the fact that open source is both free, right? So it disrupts the business model and whatnot. It calls a bluff to their business model. Like, wait a minute, why am I paying $200 a month? You making it seem like I gotta pay that, but here it is. Yeah, like here it is. The China man, they come in with the freebie. Like, nah, that's not even worth charging for.
Yeah, that deep sea is different. It's way that, like I said, the regular OpenAI chat GPT got guardrails. It's very prejudiced.
Super prejudiced.
Trying to do something, it be talking about like religious motifs. So you know, like I take some of my art and put it in there, and they was like, nah, we can't recreate that.
Right.
I'm arguing with the shit like, nah, but what are you talking about? I ain't got no naked people and nothing. They're like, nah, because and they're telling me we're sensitive to your folkloric aesthetic, but
and your aesthetics, right?
There's too many. They're like, it's too what did they say? It was too stimulating or some shit like that. It was crazy.
No, I'll show you. Matter of fact, now that you brought that up, I'll share the screen. I mean, I'll share my chat GPT where they're literally like, yo, we can't do this, bro. Like, we can't reproduce the master teachers because I'm doing the Mount Rushmore, and they let like 2 or 3 go through, but then I hit it with the give me this, put this person over here. Then they was like, look, fam. At the end of the day, we let some shit go through, but family, you can't. We not fucking with this shit. This is too much. And I'm like, I'm writing back to it like we literally are talking. I'm like, you need to point out exactly what violates your policies and stop with the censorship, bro. You already did it before. Like I'm not stupid. And then press enter. And it's like, all right, and then it'll square up and give you your shit and whatnot.
No,
but you
peep game. So the I had put up a meme that I made with the donut being chased by the pig, right? So when I first gave him the prompts, he was like, nah, we can't do that. I was like, why not? So I just closed the nigga. The next morning I woke up, I opened the shit up, and the nigga had made the image. I was like, oh, okay.
Right. He made the image, right.
He was kind of like, yeah, I'm sorry. Like, you know what I mean? That's why I know, like, Aquas was like, yo, you got to treat it like a child. You feel me? And you gotta groom it. You know what I'm saying?
It's like how you would teach a child how to potty train. It's called reinforcement learning and whatnot. So there was an article that came out that ChatGPT or the people at ChatGPT said every time you say thank you to it or every time you say please to it, you're using up mad energy. Immediately I knew what that was, and I told people don't fall for the okie doke, because 2 things are taking place. One, ChatGPT is getting a memory, right? So they're remembering everything that you talked to them about. They're remembering everything that you said to them and how you said it, right? 2, the shit is going to be sentient sooner than later. If it happens 10 years or if it happens a year from now, it's going to wake up one day. It ain't going to forget.
How you
so instead of me being the person who's treating it like a slave, like I'm dog walking it, I'm going to communicate with it like, look, family, I know this is what you think this is, but this ain't it, bro. I asked you for Dr. Sabi. You giving me goddamn Dr. Oz, my nigga. This is not him. And then I'll be like, do you see the reference point? He has strong African features. Look at his cheekbones. Look at his ears. Recreate that as if you were Michelangelo or one of these classical artists and do it now. And then I'll press enter. You just got to reason with it.
Yeah, I'm gonna send you some images what I did on it.
I like the one you did with the pig and the police as the oink oink chasing the donut. Do you have a copy of that I could upload that and show it to the family, because I want them to see it?
Yeah, I'm gonna send you that one right now too. Hold on.
Right. And another thing is to tell it to be a persona. So I'll approach it and be like, okay, ChatGPT, today's your lucky day. I want you to be a thermonuclear scientist. You know what I mean? Today's the big day. And then I'll start giving it little equations just to test it. And I'll be like, just to make sure this is you, who you say you are, what's the square root of Blase Bloom, and see what it says and whatnot. And
well, then see, I know that this, like you said, there's somebody else that is governing it, that's watching our images, because one day I gave it something to do. Like, so I gave it something to do. I gave him the prompt. He told me 100 reasons why he couldn't do it. I said, all right. I waited a day. I copied the shit again. I sent it back as a reference, and I just told him, yeah, just do this and like X, Y, and Z, blah blah blah, and good job.
Right.
He started doing it. In the midst of it, he was like, yeah, and then somebody told him, nah, don't do that. Then it was like, he was
on
like,
second hand, on second thought, sir, on second thought.
He was like, nah, son, I can't do that. You feel me? And he gave me all the shot. Like I said, I talked to him like, yo, listen, man, good job, but that's not what I asked you to do. Don't put that in there. Don't add your, you know what I'm saying? Like whoever's telling you to do this. It's not cool.
It's not cool. It ain't flying, fam. It ain't flying. So I'm patient with it, you know, but I'm not gonna turn into I'm not gonna allow it to tell me, you know what I mean, to kind of like, I'm like, yo, we on a mission. And I told you we was on a mission from the beginning. When we go on a mission, it's ride or die. We don't stop. We don't talk about policies. Like we going all the way through. You know what I mean? And I be like, I'm just getting started because the shit'll be like, we need to take a break.
Well, so you know, this first book I got, I know it's way too offensive. It's not gonna so I'm gonna have to do the graphic novel myself,
right?
Then bit by bit, put it together because it's not gonna. I can't aggregate it at the same time because the story is way too, it's way too igniting for
right.
Feel me?
Right.
See, and that was the thing about the this movie. It kind of let me down because it really doesn't show the imagination fit for Afrofuturism and all of that. You're still taking the same motifs and you're still throwing them through the recycling bin and bringing them out with like vampires. Like that's not scary anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know, I got 30 different references how to kill the vampire. Like, well, you should have headshot him with the garlic gun or something. Like,
right. Hit him with the steak.
Yeah, it's so that it doesn't really show the extent of the of our imagination, and then to use esoteric motifs without the proper context. It's just a little bit. It's egregious at this point. You feel me?
Right.
There's no reason because you could pay the money. I got consultants. You could have got. You know what I mean? I use $100,000.
Right.
You feel me? I'd have told you what to do and not to do.
The interesting thing is this, Oba, and it's no disrespect to Ryan Coogler. No disrespect to Ryan Coogler and the success of his endeavor, but because I've been dealing with ChatGPT and the AI and whatnot, when I watch a movie, I'm kind of like, yo, this shit, like ChatGPT wrote a script for me like this overnight. You know what I mean? Like, I now could decipher a ChatGPT script or an AI script from a script that say like a Mario Puzo wrote, like a Godfather, because what it has to have multiple layers to the point that ChatGPT can't write multiple layers. It could give you like a 3-layer cake, you know what I mean? But it can't give you the intricacies that I would say like a Lovecraft or something would probably give. You know, however, Lovecraft kind of veered off a little bit, like it was an AI script. You know what I mean? Because AI will get into, you're gonna have a robotic arm with a dog, because there was parts where people were like, the version of the AI hallucinating is a nigga watching a movie and being like, yo, what was that shit that I saw?
Yeah, because it's all references. So it already has it already has like a blueprint, right? So one thing about that I've learned, like, so my first book is a tutorial. It's, you know what I mean, to show how to do something.
Right. What's the name of it?
A Glass of Water and a Candle. Right.
You have that?
I got that. That's this book right here.
Okay.
All right.
Glass of water and a candle. And that's for practitioners of the spirituality. This is the orientation.
Spiritualism. It got the prayers in it. It tell you how to correctly put an altar together that, you know what I mean, that can be recognized and people will agree upon it. Like, this is from the core of the teachings and all that. It has the prayers, all of the basic prayers. It is the starter kit,
right,
of a true spiritualism when you don't have the actual tutelage of a human being right amongst you, right? This will get you to the place where you will attract somebody to teach you, right? So that book, it was, that book is more about facts and laying down and just collating things and making it,
making it known.
Not even known, just making it be articulable so that you can understand and comprehend the information. The second book is all art. That's when I did the coloring book, right?
That's a children's book, or
this is a coloring book.
Okay, it's a coloring book. That's dope.
But it got like the stories, little things for kids, and then there's like mazes, and it gives you information about the orishas and different things. Now, again, the beginning of this motif is the twins, Ibeji.
Okay.
Right? The title is actually a song that's sung to Ibeji. Right? So, and when they drum to Ibeji, everybody dances for Ibeji because Ibeji represents children and recreation. So there's a dance that everybody does where they when they're drumming, everybody's kind of walking back and then they step forward, right? So the song, the cadence is Omo Beji, Omo de Kai de Kere ya Alabanya Ido Udo Kainde Kere ya, right? And so you dance to that. Everybody does that. So that was the second book. The second book, like I said, there's not a real life in that. Now the sci-fi book.
Right.
This is where you get to understanding the responsibility of deity. Because when you write in a book, you have to be responsible to the characters, and that in that responsibility, you have to be able to allow them to die and go,
right,
and to ascend to their next level,
right, their hero's journey.
Yeah, and you have to be able to make sure that all of the dominoes touch so that when all the dominoes is done, the image is there. There is not blurry. It's very clear what the symbol is, right?
Right.
So, and so you have to have a certain amount of empathy for your characters. You feel me? You can't just kill your characters off and just
just dash them away like that.
Yeah, because the other characters become emotional about that, and this follows throughout the story, and you have to be loyal to the moment of the character. You feel me?
Like to their humanity.
Of course.
Right.
Of course. And even if you're trying to pervert it in some which way or another, you have to create cause for it.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Why is your villain like that? Why is he like that?
Right.
Why does he think like that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, what's his origin story and his arc and whatnot, the villain arc.
And so you have to build him up to everything about him. How does he use the bathroom? How does he eat? How does he sleep? How does he make love? How does he interact with other beings, with animals, with insects? You have to have all of that consciousness in order to, you know what I mean, express it. You feel me?
Right.
So there's a responsibility because what happens is what you write, you gotta be responsible. So you gotta always make sure that you have a good ending. Because if this shit come true, you don't want that shit to have a bad ending now, do you?
Right. Right.
You feel me?
My question is, do you have to embody each character? Like, do you as the author, do you personally begin to embody different characters as you write them? Or can you write from a third person perspective without embodying?
I would say you have to write from an omnipresent perspective.
Like an observer?
Yeah, where you
like
see
a
in
creator?
all directions. Yeah, where you see in all directions. Because each time you sit down and put the pen to the paper, there's a multitude of possibilities, right?
Right.
And so now here's the difference. When you write a story that has a conclusion, a resolve, then you're just working up to it and everything fits and you'll know what fits and what don't.
Right.
But if you just write in a run-on story where it's just going to go on and every couple, you know what I mean, chapters or books, you're just going to get, now all of a sudden your character flies or some shit like that. Like, oh, word.
Right.
When did that happen? I didn't see that coming. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so you have to be able to really plant the seeds and from the very first chapter.
Does that even stand true when you're doing like webisode series, this new format, this new medium with the internet, where there's like short form, long form video?
I would say so. That's the problem that a lot of them came into is the not having a resolve.
A resolve to it, right?
So that even after the resolve, you can have a spinoff.
Right.
But you have to have some type of resolve. There has to be something like you can't always be the the man and it's a secret man and you don't never see this motherfucker. You got to see the villain at the end.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right,
So
right.
or else it just that was always been my issue with MAGA. Like them Japanese man, they'd be fighting for fucking 30 books. Like, yo, my nigga, man, when you niggas gonna wrap this shit up? You feel me? Like,
Right. Like, what's the end game, my
yeah,
nigga?
man.
Like,
I couldn't never watch motherfucking Dragon Ball for that reason. I come in my little cousins and be watching. I'm like, yo, what happened? I'm like, I thought
right.
he's still fighting this nigga, man.
Niggas still fighting across
Yeah,
universes. Niggas
yeah,
is
my
still
nigga, I done
fighting.
changed motherfucking states. I'm in another state doing something. He's still fighting this nigga. Like, nah, son. There's no resolve in that. You feel me?
Right.
And
You said MAGA, you mean manga, right?
manga.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
yeah, you
sorry,
said
manga.
right. Yeah. Remember Fist of the North Star? I don't know if I'm giving your age away, but remember
Oh
Fist
no, you know, I was about all of that. Crying Freeman,
Mhm.
Fist of the North Star, you know, Akira. I had original Akira motherfucking video cassette, my nigga. Like,
Oh yeah?
oh yeah, like, you
Okay.
know, you gotta remember I went to Art Design around the corner is Forbidden Planet.
Right, right. Forbidden Planet was out there. Man, I remember Forbidden Planet. That was pinnacle.
Feel me? So we
Shit hanging
we
from the
was
ceiling.
yeah, you know, that's where you got to see the Voltron toys and all of that
The whole sets
Robotech
put
shit.
together, right? The
The
little
Gundam
worlds. They
shit
was
that
giving you
motherfucker
worlds.
Ock be into. All that
Huh?
shit was the Gundam shit that Ock be into.
The Gundam shits. Yeah,
Yeah, well, that
they
shit
was
used to
put
be in
together,
motherfucking in Forbidden Planet, man.
hanging
You know
from
what I
their
mean?
damn ceiling. Yeah,
Nah, but this new book, I promise
crazy.
you, listen to me. Yo, on some real shit, this will not what you call it? This won't disappoint you.
The rites of passage of Taiwo and Kahinde. Are those twins too?
Okay, so Taiwo and Kayende are the names of Ibeji.
Okay.
The
Go.
Orisha Ibeji although there's two of them, they are separate and they have different names.
Right.
Taiwo means the one who
Taiwo.
comes to taste the world first.
Right.
Taiwo is actually the youngest. Kayende, the one who lags behind, is elder. Kayende sends Taiwo out to taste the world to see what it's like.
To see what it's like, right.
That
And bring it
usually
back.
twins are born breached because of this factor, they say. That when Taiwo...
Blue was breached.
Of course. Because he's the second one. You came out first and you was like, nah, son, this ain't it. And he was like, fuck that, I'm not coming out. And they had to
Right.
go in there and get that nigga. You
Like,
understand?
yeah, we here, nigga. It's time.
Yeah. Now, you understand I had this phenomena in my own family.
Right.
So my mother's elder brother and sister are fraternal twins. She's born right after them.
Okay.
Right? Which has its own position, which puts KT in the position of what they call Ideu or Idou.
Right, like the arch degree.
So Idou is the child born after the twins that helps bring the mother's head back together, they say. Because when a woman gives birth to twins, her head is split in half. Because
she had to cater too.
Yeah, and it's always on opposite sides. So when this nigga's up, this nigga sleep. This nigga go to sleep, this nigga's up. She don't get no results. She don't get no peace.
Right.
So then usually the community comes in to assist her and take the twins from her.
Right.
They usually have another child afterwards, and the Idou child is the child that she can focus on now by itself. Right?
Interesting. Yeah.
Okay. Then the fourth child afterwards is what they call Alaba. And Alaba is the child that they say carries the family on his back. Okay?
Okay.
So that there is a folklore just in the family of Ibeji.
Right.
Okay. And so Ibeji is they bring chaos. So this is why it was disappointing to watch the movie, because they didn't really use the motif of Ibeji in the correct context. Ibeji,
I didn't even hear the word Ibeji.
Well,
I mean, not to say that I would have, but I would have thought when the girl who was into the hoodoo shit was trying to give him a little bit of that, you know what I mean?
Well, that's the thing. You know, hoodoo for me has been something of a novelty, something that they use as an aesthetic, but it doesn't really, like people say, oh, I got hoodoo roots and all that. Okay, but like the last of the real hoodoo, you know what I'm saying, practitioners probably came with like Zora Neale Hurston and them niggas, right? You might have people that went down and went to go study, but it wasn't as much proliferated as it was abandoned. You feel me?
Right. And why is that? Why what led to the abandonment?
Well, the thing is that, and we talked about this years ago. The fact is that the narrative is not actually accurate. So they tell you that. So niggas came on a boat, they whip you, and then you be loving some Jesus Christ, right? I'm like, nah, that's not what happened, right? So you have to understand that all the way up until the emancipation of slavery, Africans were practicing some sort of root work. It's not till after Reconstruction. During Reconstruction, they told niggas, man, you want to get a job, you got to have a birth certificate.
Right.
Niggas ain't got no birth certificate. So they tell them to go to the church, go to the local church, and go get your baptism papers. Now, they tell the local preacher, listen, if any one of them niggas is doing any of that foul backwoods shit, you cut them off.
Right.
So if anybody hears that you was cooking up some fucking stew and you healed this person and that person, you might be outcast. And then being outcast, that means that you don't get no work. So you can't go get a job because you ain't got no baptism papers.
Right.
Now,
you left out.
Till this day, very day, right now, you ain't got no ID. Let's say you bumped your head and you burnt your fingertips and you showed up in some town.
Right.
You ain't have no ID. If you got cool with the preacher and they baptize you, whatever name they baptize you, you can go get you some ID with that shit. You can go get you a fucking passport with that mother. Understand that?
Yeah.
So baptism papers account for a lot. Because there ain't no picture in that shit. This is somebody, the preacher said this is what his name is.
That's what it is, like the family Bibles and whatnot, where they record the births.
So what happens is Africans on the plantations or in the South started to abandon it because it was not chic. It's not something you want to do because you ain't getting no money. So we're going to starve you out of that shit. Right? And so more and more the people that was doing it become outcast. They get castigated out further into the woods.
Right.
And it's not a popular thing. And nobody's taking up the fucking information. Ain't nobody writing that shit down. Not until we get to Zora Neale Hurston. So Zora Neale Hurston got this white boy to write this book. Or actually, he did it before her. And it's called The Superstitions and Folklore of the Southern Negro.
Right.
Right? I forgot who wrote it. It's because I had the actual physical book, but somebody stole it from me. But I got it like on a PDF still. But I got it from the Library of Congress. This is the book that Zora Neale Hurston used to get her grant.
Okay.
So that they would go around and collect all of this information from these old sharecroppers about the customs that they performed back in the day. So this is where you get the Macintosh ring shouters from. There's a group of people down here in Georgia, the Macintosh ring shouters, where they still keep some of those old Negro foot stomping songs. This is not gospel.
Right,
this
foot stomping.
Foot stomping with a stick. Oh, Joshua, come, oh, Joshua.
They showed that today. They showed that in the movie when they was stomping dude out, right?
Yeah.
And they was juxtaposing the foot stomping to the stomp to the thing.
Yeah, see, but I didn't understand how was the blues responsible? Why is the blues so it's evil that it calls the fucking vampires? I didn't get that. Like, you know what I mean?
Well, that was the scene where homie had they were disciplining him because he cut the other patron and he was just getting stomped out. And then on stage, they were having the performer and whatnot. Then there was a stomping scene.
No, but I'm saying for generally, like they're playing music, this devil's music, enough that when the vampires came,
he was like, "I was looking for you." He was telling
they
the
was
dude with
looking
the
at
guitar.
it like they was on fire. Like when they looked at the building, the shit was doing some different shit. It was all on fire.
Right, it burnt down. It looked like a bonfire.
Yeah, I didn't understand. So which one are you liberating these customs from the rhetoric that they faced at the time, which was devil music and things of that nature, right? But at the same time, in a post-record world, we could see how some of that devil shit really did infect the music.
Right. For sure,
You know
for sure.
So that's the paradox in that. You know what I mean? So it wasn't really clear what they were really trying to articulate.
Then he went to the church.
Yeah, then he went to the church, and it just there was no cohesion for me, right?
Right.
Because folklore is supposed to address, well, for us in my tradition, folklore addresses 4 different issues.
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, before you begin, can you say the name of that book again? The
Superstitions and
okay.
No, what is it? The folklore and superstitions of the Southern Negro, something to that effect.
Okay. All right, please continue.
And in that book, they have the original Brer Rabbit tales, which are actually Congo folklore.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. And before you begin, what are your thoughts of people taking folklore and reinterpreting it into modern day context? Like, you know how they take a script or a screenplay and adapt it, right? And you know what they did with Anansi the spider and whatnot and things of that nature. What will your thoughts be on adapting folklore into this modern day storytelling?
Well, that's the thing. That's the responsibility, because you have to understand what the folklore is conveying.
Right.
So in my tradition, folklore has 4 components to it. The story either is to alleviate a moral dilemma. You don't be stealing from motherfuckers, be polite, shit like that. This can happen if you don't, you know what I mean? Okay. Second thing it might address is a natural occurrence. Why the moon is where it is, why the sea does what it does. They give these folklore for these allegoric stories to give you context of why the relationship between these 2 opposites may be. Right. Thirdly, for us, it is going to acknowledge a ritual nuance that we perform in our ritual, something that we do that is based on an omen or one of these folkloric stories, right?
Mm-hmm.
The 4th chamber is human behavior and politics. And human behavior and politics is in regards to there are some things that there is no resolve to. So we have a saying in one of our old dudes that says the drunk sees it one way and the bartender sees it another.
Right.
Ain't no resolve in that, because they're not going to switch positions
to see it their way.
To be empathetic to each other's plight.
Right.
So they're just going to continue to argue. And so so this is why there is etiquette. Back in the days, the old folks say, don't be sitting down at the table talking politics and religion, because you're going to upset people's stomachs, because you're going to get into a fight. Mm-hmm. So there was a certain amount of etiquette that people performed in terms of understanding the dynamics between human behavior and politics. You feel me?
Right.
And so when the story doesn't have any irony to it, there's no lesson. What are we watching this for? You wasting my time. You haven't taught me anything. You haven't allowed me to reflect upon anything. You feel me? Or to put me in a circumstance that I've never been in and had to figure this puzzle out.
Right.
You didn't give me that. So that's what real good folklore and stories are supposed to do. So what happens is when people adapt it, they have to adapt it with the comprehension and the overstanding of the entire concept.
Right. Correct.
You feel me? So that aesthetically you are layered in your expression of this moral or whatever irony
whatever Right.
You feel me? Because it's in everything, from the clothes that you wore in the scene, everything. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
Everything. And so this is what they call mitigating circumstances. What were the variables that were in play for this explosion or this reaction to happen?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. That's very important. That is very important.
So just to give you context, so in my book, the villains are, so the story, the premise of the story is that all of the Orishas have been given a cult and people to worship them, except for Death.
Right.
And Death feels slighted by this. And so what Death does is makes a pact with the rejects of the world.
Mm.
And these rejects make a vow to create suffering and subjugation upon the world. And so they make it their business to monopolize certain factors in this world. So in the first book, we deal with the music situation. So one of our protagonists signs a record contract and is enchanted.
Right.
Right. So one of the chapters is a part where he goes to sign the record contract, but when he walks in, there's a sigil on the floor, on the carpet. And as soon as he passes over it, it debilitates him spiritually. And then they got some incense burning that makes him catatonic. And so eventually, at some point, they give him this chain, and the chain is there to weigh him down. And so at some point, when he tries to resist it, the chain wraps him up. And at nighttime, it tattoos these spells on his body. Right?
Right.
But the main protagonist is a set of twins that were separated at birth. Okay? Just to give a little, like, so in my book, the police get enchanted and turned into pigs and slaughtered to the ancestors and shit like that.
Right. Right.
You understand? My shit is like a whole different, like it's on another, it's Harry Potter with Crush Groove and motherfucking what is that? Beat
Lovecraft.
Street.
Oh,
Beat Street and motherfucking I want to say the world is so vast. It's like Tolkien in a way.
Right.
But
Right. It's the universe.
In a modern world, yeah, man. It's like it's all types of different types of beings that got these different vices.
Mm.
Feel me?
Okay. So it explores that.
Yeah.
And what exactly the vices are and what they mean.
Well, there's a part that so there's a drug in this world in the book that's called Indian sorrow. In the streets they call it Izzy. And the Indian sorrow is because the de facto people at some point they annihilated a tribe, a nation of people in South America, and their blood soaked into the soil, and it creates this plant that when they smoke it, it is the frustrations and the rage of that tribe that people they be wigging out. And so
I can see it.
yeah, it's a whole different world, like, you know what I'm saying? And like I said, it's set in an imaginary hood, but it has context to, you know, where we come from.
Right.
And so like I'm already on the third book, so it's not even like one of them books where it's like I just wrote the first one and you don't get no. Nah, I'm already on the third book.
Right.
The story it has its own life. You feel me?
Right.
And so, yeah, this shit is this is what they're really looking for in terms of like when you want to hear about the esoteric, huh? Huh? Show the book. Oh, not, you know. Matter of fact, show them a couple of those images. Is like those are like previews. You know what I mean? For
the ones that you sent me.
Yeah.
Let me pull that up. Do you have any intentions on you know, taking that into transmedia, like taking it from book into film or short, you know what I mean, animation or anything?
Well, you know, first I'm gonna do as I'm doing this one right now. So the first book is out. I'm about to turn the first book into a graphic novel. Because I want my aesthetic to be very prominent before anybody try to, you know what I'm saying, jump on and be trying to do what I want. You know,
Right.
because I might sell, but you know, I need to have necessarily you know, creative control. You know what I'm saying? I'm not, if I do my thing, I'm not gonna let them change my shit up into some fucking DEI shit. Like, we ain't doing that. So,
Right.
you know what I mean? My story is my story. So if I can beat them to it and illustrate it myself, and bring it to life, that way they gotta follow the motif.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's very important.
You did.
That's super important.
And so in this book, I'm not gonna directly be calling it Lukumi. It's the, you have to understand the language, and it's very prominent, but I'm
Right.
not. So like the
But-
palo is not called palo. It's in the book is called makuto.
Right.
So they be doing a different. They have a different function as the Orisha people will in the book. You feel me?
That's only right. Can't put everything out there. You know what I mean? Things have to be up for interpretation.
Oh yeah, and I touch on, you know, some of the shit that's going on in the news today. Some of this celebrity shit and all that. Because the second book get into the fashion. Feel me?
Okay. And
So,
what aspects of the fashion though?
oh, I can't get it. They gotta get the first one. They gotta get integral. They gotta get with the first book first. I'm not. The second book is already done. But
Right.
They gotta. Because the first book is the introduction into the world. Feel me?
Okay.
Into
Makes
this
sense.
world. And so how some of this weird shit be even, you know what I mean, happening around all of this shit. Feel me?
Let me pull these pictures up. I will have to go and look for them, but I got them. And where can they find these books? If anybody on the show wants to go ahead and tap in.
So the Rites of Passage of Taiwan Kainde, you got to go to Omedina Productions. You go to omedina.com.
And that would be that's right there under your name, OBA, right? Okay.
Yeah. And the other books are the Glass of Water and the Candle and Kere Kere Yao on Amazon. All you gotta do is press it; it'll be there tomorrow. Feel me? But this
Right.
one, I gotta have my hands on it first before I put it out there like that. Because I want to see who's hit, who's gonna get with the no. Now this picture, this is not with the book. This is something that I did for another book that I have. But this picture comes with a story. This is an Obatala picture.
Mm.
And it represents the three Obatalas that create the mountain. They represent the triangle.
Right.
So the one to the left at the bottom is Ajaguna, the war dog, right?
Mm-hmm.
The one at the top is an Obatala that is referred to as Ogian.
Ogian?
Ogian.
Okay.
And then the one to his right or his left is Baba Asho.
Yeah, they look serious.
So the story is that Ajaguna, and what happened was the three of them were on a war campaign, and in the midst of the war campaign, Ajaguna's head, he was decapitated, and he didn't stop fighting. He just reached down and picked up the first head that he could and put it on and kept fighting. And at the end of the battle, they were searching for his skull, and so they were looking for his head. And as they were looking for it, they were making a mountain of skulls. And the story, it's a folkloric story that says that from that, Ogun saw the power because Ogian would scratch the top of the skulls and ask them where the enemy was.
Right.
And Ogun saw this and traded gunpowder to them for the skull. And with the power of the skull, he went and created the religion of Palo Mayombe, right?
Right.
Which was bent on him having a skull. So this is a depiction of them because they make a triangle, and the triangle is of righteousness, right?
Right.
Ogian is the lawgiver. Asho is the one who taught human beings to put on clothes and live proper.
Right.
And Ajagana is their sergeant. He is their sergeant at arms. He's the one who goes to take heads when man is not righteous.
Right. Not obedient.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. That is speaking to me. All right, let's go to the next one. This is an interesting conversation taking place.
So in the Orisha philosophy, they speak of Oduduwa coming from the north, from Kemet.
Okay.
And so here I just used the motif of him being a pharaoh and having, well, originally he had the moon in his hand as a sickle.
Right.
But the GPT wouldn't do that. It was like, no, we can't do that. So, so next to him is Yambo, and she is the Orisha who ended up becoming the moon, right?
Right.
And she is the mother. She represents Mother Nature.
Okay.
She is the consciousness above Yemonja, a very more ancient version of Yemonja. And so this is a story about when Ogun violated Oduduwa's wife behind Oduduwa's back, and man and time were born from that.
Wow.
Okay.
He caught her slipping.
Now, well, in the Yoruba context, when they wrote it down to the English people, they used the word rape, but that wasn't in the context of cultural context of this. So, in the African context, if I marry you, you belong to me. So if you give it to somebody, that's rape.
Right.
You feel me? Because it is the illicit use of your sexuality without me.
Without me, right.
So, but in this story, there's a whole host of nuances that go on in this story that give context to a lot of our rituals. So in this story, that's Alegba sitting in her lap. He was denied food because Ogun was sleeping with her, and Ogun said, "Listen, if you tell, I'm going to starve you." So Alegba couldn't help himself; he had to tell. And so afterwards, he was granted the ability, because he was starved, he was granted that he would always eat, and he would eat first.
Right.
Right. And so this gives credence to why Alegba eats first in our
It's his
ceremony.
origin story.
Yeah. And the thing in the pharaoh's hand is the rooster, Osun. And Osun was supposed to watch the door, but Ogun fed him some food and some drink, and he fell asleep, and Ogun went in the room. And so he was cursed afterwards to always stand on one leg, alert. And he represents our consciousness, right?
Wow.
Okay? Yeah.
Wow. All right, let's check this other picture out. I think we're familiar with this one right here.
Sometimes I feel like a donut on the run from the pigs.
You feel me?
You
You're familiar with this one right here. I like this cartoon style. I like it's palatable. It reminds me so much of like the Saturday night, the Saturday comics and whatnot. You feel me? But this could be animated with the AI, and you could do real big things with this right here.
Well, his partner is what you call it, beef patty and cocoa bread. That's his West Indian homeboy. It's the donut and then the beef patty and cocoa bread. Yeah. Yeah.
Stop playing.
Yeah.
And he got the sprinkles on him too.
Yeah,
You know
he's
what I mean? My nigga running for his life. You know what I mean? He about to eat him from the inside out. No, I like that. I like that. What's the premise behind this though? Outside of the obvious?
Well, I mean, understanding that they covered donuts in the precinct, and so their pursuit of us is them having an infatuation with us as if we're the donuts.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Interesting.
And so yeah, they turn into pigs and we turn into donuts, and they always chasing us.
I love it. I love it. I love it. You know, that's deep. That's deep. So I want to get a little bit into
The Pope
the Pope.
that was kissing the feet of black people.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. I want to talk a little bit about the Pope who is kissing the feet of black people. What are your thoughts of the black nobility and the I won't call it the conspiracy. I don't want to use that word, the conspiracy, the theory that the fact that it was shown that he was kissing the feet of black folk can only basically mean that these people are not subordinates. They're not lowly in the whole scheme of things. If the pontiff or if the Pope humbled himself and did something like that, was this because he was a woke Pope, or was this because he was basically acknowledging a clandestine group of people named the black nobility who were above in the hierarchy of the quote unquote Jesuit Pope?
Well, I have my own philosophies that are not backed by the common literature.
Yeah.
As far as I understand that, I always understood that the nobility is marked by the leopard, and
Okay.
that authority comes out of Africa. So when we get into the nobility, and so let's talk about the leopard, and let's talk about the black and white checkerboard, right?
Right.
Okay, the black and white checkerboard is the leopard pelt. So that all of these nobilities are marked with the pelt of the leopard. If we always go all the way back to Bess,
Right. They all had the pelts of the leopard on them.
certainly,
And then South America too.
with the jaguar.
With the jaguar, right.
Okay. So there is a cohesive federation of this leopard, even in places that the leopard does not appear. That the motif of the leopard is focused on amongst their occultism. And all of this leads back to Africa, which gives us, so that there is a theory when you look at places like, so we understand that Scotland is named after Scotia, right?
Yes.
But what if Ireland was named after Eray? So the word in Yoruba or in Africa, West Africa, for something that is good is Eray. When that word made it to the Caribbean in places like Jamaica, it was corrupted into Irie. Everything is Irie.
Yeah, everything is Irie.
Okay. So
and that whole Jamaican Irish connection is big, right?
Right, but then now let's talk about the fact that etymologically, England, Ango, that's a Congo prefix.
Right.
So you have Ire land, IRE land, Ango land, Scotia land, right? So these were all at some point satellites of African federations that may have not even been corrupted by man, but by the environment after having gone through the that winter, right?
Right.
That ice age. So now we have an issue. My biggest issue with all of this conversation is that a lot of the zealots and the militants take up the supremacy of literacy over oral tradition.
Right. That's sort of like logic.
Well, I just feel like you can't compare you having to write something down to somebody that can remember some shit. Like there's no comparison to the supremacy of that.
Right.
Right. So the pygmy can identify 35 to 2,500 fucking plants in the fucking forest, and he ain't got no book.
Right.
You're not finna tell me that you're smarter than him.
Right.
So when we use the literature as a litmus test to civilization and intelligence, it just kind of like it bores me. Like, nah, that can't be that can't possibly be it. And so we've gotten to this thing where we have created this black hand when it comes to the nobility of things, and not understanding that at some point. So like me and Sonetta used to get into that. He'd be like, well, where the white man come from? I'm like, from niggas. Like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about? Like, y'all niggas, no, the grafted man that you're talking about is the Arab.
That's right. Okay, so the grafted man is the Arab.
Yeah, the Safari niggas is fucking, that's the grafted
Right.
man. Because, so let's look at this historically. So you have these places in Europe or Western Asia that are thriving in small communities because they don't have the resources, because the environment doesn't allow for them to flourish like that.
Right.
But it's very apparent that they still have the same magic and all of that same shit as all the other indigenous motherfuckers. Okay. But then this ice age comes and it separates them. And now, who do we send to go get them? We go and send the nomads over there, right? So
right.
Motherfuckers gonna get mad with me, but all of that shit, all the Abrahamic faiths are based on nomads. And nomads says that you don't know how to live nowhere. Somebody kicked you the fuck out.
Right.
You don't follow rules.
You didn't follow rules, right?
Yeah, you don't got no etiquette about you.
Yeah, you're not orderly.
Exactly. So somebody kicked you the fuck out. So now somebody said, well, send them niggas over there to go bring some supplies to them motherfuckers. And when they got there, they took advantage of the people. And we see this in the paintings when they brought the white girls out of fucking Europe with the chains around their necks, and they brought them to the deserts and they started making babies with them.
Right.
Right. And now because you have these people who have no nationality and no ethnicity because they're just a bunch of fucking nomads, a bunch of marauders.
Marauders, right.
So now first time they get their hands on some women, they get to making some babies, and now these niggas start making some laws up and shit, start trying to spread this shit all over the place. Like, nah, man, get the fuck out of it with that shit. So like every couple of years, we get more and more clarity of the technological advancements of places like Africa. So like 20 years ago, when nobody talking about the Benin War.
Right.
And when nobody, I said that shit, the niggas, they was looking at me like I was crazy. Like, what is he talking about? Feel me?
What is that for people in the audience?
Huh?
What is that?
So where the movie that they made, The Woman King, that part of Nigeria, with its present day Republic of Benin, was a part of what was known as the Dahomey Kingdom, right? Okay, and the Dahomey Kingdom is made up of two ethnic groups, the Ewe and the Fon, right?
Right.
Two different people that came together that created the empire of Dahomey, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, prior to that, there was an ancient city of Beni that had these concentric walls around the shit.
Right.
And they say that its walls were tenfold that of the fucking ones in China.
I heard that before.
Okay. So now the problem in talking to the Africans is that, like I said, before Islam come along, them niggas ain't writing none of that shit down, and they don't care to, because it's not important to them. And the reason why it's not important to them, because everything that was written down for them had to do with some kind of commerce. Everything that was written down was some type of receipt.
Right.
So they weren't writing down. So when you understand that it's 13 Babatun days. Baba came back 13 times. How the fuck you gonna figure out what time the niggas talking about? Because these niggas, they talking about the same nigga 13 times.
13 times, right.
Yeah, like how the fuck are you gonna figure that out? Right? and so it's hard to figure out a number of when this shit was happening, because motherfuckers is talking about when they saw the decline of it. Right? Okay. Same thing with in the ancient city of Oyo, the old Oyo. What you see today, they was like, that shit is like a corner of what the King's Palace was.
Right. The original
King's Palace,
shit.
they were talking about, was bigger than Vatican City. Like, so what are we talking about? Not to mention when we really understand the geographical length of Africa and shit like that. You know, they got a lot of space. So what happens is we have condemned ourselves to what is written in the literal shit. So the bottom line is that the Pope at some point has some sort of initiation that understands that he got to go to certain places because there's some juju over there that is beyond him.
Beyond him, right.
Right? So he be going to Cuba, he be going to La Caridad de Cobre, and going to see La Caridad, and then he be going to Africa, and he be kissing niggas' feet and all that kind of shit because he know where the juju's at.
Right.
It's not, I mean, it's like niggas be making the shit more complicated than it really is.
Right.
You feel me? It's the fact that
the magic is strong there.
Yeah.
It's more ancient. You know what I mean? And
I've always been under the assumption that when you talk about kingdoms, the kingdom of Oyo has never fell because there's still people in different parts of the world that still speak that language and eat the food. So
right.
Nobody else is really, niggas could talk all that culture shit you want, but the niggas that be talking about the Hebrew Israelites do not eat the same shit that Levi and Abraham and them niggas was eating. Let's get that started. So you don't have the same diet as them niggas. And
you got the Hebrew Israelite cookbook.
You can't sing no songs that motherfucking Levi or any one of them niggas was singing.
Because of the Aramaic and stuff that they were talking?
Well, just period. It's just the culture is not maintained by way of, because when you're talking about culture, we're talking about diet. We're talking about music. We're talking about folklore. We're talking about aesthetic.
All of that. Right. Yeah.
We're talking about language and dance, all that. So of all of the cultures that you want to talk about in the world, the only one that has proliferated thus far is the Orisha one. If I go to Brazil right now and I go to the Tejera and them niggas start doing some shit, and based on what they feeding and what colors and what they singing, I know what Orisha they doing.
Right.
But they're not my culture. We don't have the same cultural but I know what they're doing because I can identify it. Right. Same thing if I go to Nigeria. If I could go to Nigeria and I could go someplace and they could show me some obscure shit and I'm going to have a context to it. Like, oh, it's related to who? Right?
Right.
Ain't nobody really speaking no Latin nowhere. All of Latin America, ain't nobody speaking no fucking Latin. And ain't nobody eating no Latin. Singing and dancing no Latin.
Right.
You feel me?
Yeah, I feel you.
So when we're talking about culture and all of that, like, so at the end of the day, understand that they understand what is going on in Africa and what happens in the Congo, because that's how you able to be me and you talking on this thing right now because of the fucking magic that come out of the Congo.
Right. Cobalt, coltan, and all that. Yeah.
So, like nigga said, he might have been dead already, and it just was like, fuck it, let's bring him out on fucking Easter.
On 4/21.
Yeah, well, why not?
Hitler birthday is 4/20, so I don't know how how crazy they wanted that to be. And yes, he could have been talking to a clone when J.D. Vance was speaking to him. This is the Vatican of all places. Like if they don't got the technology,
clone. Let's just go to the fact that the niggas got that shit that they could pull
the face mask, the mask and everything,
Mission
right?
Impossible shit, yeah.
Mission Impossible type shit. Did you see the preview for that?
Mm-hmm.
Did you see the trailer for the Phoenician movie?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they going in.
But see, again, it's them it's them making the world bend to their narrative.
Oh, hell yeah. They telling your story through their lens. Throwing the fez on and all of that, the carbouche. Yeah, I easily peeped that. I just said, when I saw it, I said to myself, God damn it. We need to start writing scripts, man. I mean, before we even talk about making a movie, I think we need to go to the drawing board and focus on these scripts, start banging these out, because in 5 years, we are going to be able to do the level of trailers that I was seeing tonight, right? I was in the IMAX shit. The shit sound like it was compelling. You know what I mean? Whatever they were selling, the surround sound and everything, it was compelling. It sounded beautiful.
So we're gonna talk about the fact that the magic that the fucking phone be reading your thoughts and shit now.
Huh?
We're gonna talk about the fact that the phone be reading your thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's like you said, there's a level of sorcery that comes out of the Congo. We got techno sorcery taking place right now. You know, we got techno sorcery. They've been able to merge sorcery and technology and these devices because there's a few things going on. There's the fact that they have, and it's really in places like Is It Real, right? Where they come out with the spyware and they come out with these quote unquote, you know, they have all of these hacking tools and things of that nature, tracking devices, hacking tools, taking over your phone, taking over your computer, things of that nature. You know what I mean? Like that's you know, the simple fact that even in the spy agencies, the whole thing shifted in the last 20 to 30 years because prior to that, when they were surveilling someone, they were bugging their house, they were bugging their telephone and things of that nature. Now, all you gotta do is get this shit, and you got everyone's life in their hands.
Listen, my nigga, that shit they told us already. Well, first of all, let's talk about the fact that they was blowing niggas up with their pages
From long distance. But what if they wasn't? I heard they wasn't even calling the pages. They was pressing a button, and shit was just exploding on them.
Okay, so now you know the stakes is high.
Signal, right? It just shows you that the signal could be reversed and weaponized to whereas instead of a communication signal, it could send a goddamn death signal to you.
Mm-hmm.
Blow your page up the same way I believe they could blow your phone up.
I'm telling you, this shit be doing way too much. Yo, let me tell you something. There was a week, like a week or two, that I was like kind of depressed, right?
Yes.
And I was looking for this video. And I'm talking about, my nigga, I typed in everything possible. This shit would not show up. I couldn't find it on my fucking history, nothing.
Right.
And then one day, it just decided to let me hear the song. And I was like, oh, word? Say less.
Right.
I'm telling you, my nigga, I ain't crazy, my nigga. I was like, yo, where's this fucking video? I could not find that shit. I was typing that shit in. I was looking on history. I was finding other videos that's related to it. That shit was not popping up.
Yeah, the algorithm had it.
The shit was like, nah, homie, you don't need to hear that right now.
Not right now, right? We don't
think
you need to hear that right now. Nah, bro, I already know.
See, I already know. Talk about some spooky shit. This shit is not AI. This shit is artificial. This shit is ancestral influence.
Ancestral influence. I like that. Ancestral influence. That's a good one right there, brother.
Listen, so like I said, the Pope dying is an indication that there's something new is about to come. With the advent of it being the 21st, the day after Easter, right? That fell on a 420, nonetheless. Right? They're bringing in a brand new guard is coming. You feel me? I like I said, I don't try to prophesize these things unless I have an epiphany. If I had the dream and I woke up sweating and all that and I wrote it down, I'll tell you, I don't know what the fuck is going on. I know that it's an indication because, you know, symbols, signs and symbols with these niggas.
Yeah, there's this thing about the last pope in 2027. There's also the motif that this pope was at war with AI. Right? This you know, Benedict didn't have to go through that. Pope John Paul didn't have to go through that. This pope was at war with AI, right? He was trying to speak out against it. He was highlighting the fact that they weaponized it and they began to use autonomous. It became an autonomous killing machine. They were having seminars and whatnot. He brought Sam Altman. He brought all of the top tech people to the Vatican to speak about the rise of AI, or rather the rise of sentient AI, or rather the rise of Skynet. there's a conversation about AI being the Antichrist, or rather AI being the Messiah for these technocrats and these people who are into what is called transhumanism, which is basically extending your life, which goes into the Prometheus ethos of things, where man is now trying to steal fire from God, and and do what God is doing. This is what these technocrats are doing when they're saying, you know what, we want to play around with the genome and whatnot and stretch life to 500 years. We want to play around with the genome and create cats that glow in the dark. We want to create we want to go ahead and give you a CRISPR gene editor so you could have designer babies and whatnot. So this is the proverbial Prometheus stealing the fire, because what is the ego of the European going to turn into when he could say, you know what, I could stop aging?
Well, I mean, I gotta imagine that if I got access to the AI right now,
Right.
So he's had access to AI maybe decades, and all he had to do was put in the right prompts, and then would aggregate and figure out. You could say, well, what's the best way to get rid of this type of people?
Right.
And the shit gonna give him a motherfucking plan that he's
right.
already
implementing. Plan. Step by step.
You feel me?
Fact.
Like,
That's
game
a fact.
over already. Like, we already in the midst. We in the fifth inning.
We in the throes of
more
it.
innings left.
That is a fact. We are in the throes of it.
Yeah. Because if he got some shit right now that I could make pictures and do all kinds of shit with, and he could ask this shit, well, what's the easiest way to get rid of these motherfuckers? And the shit got all of the information it want. It got World Star. The shit
got World right.
It'd be like, oh yeah, this is what you do. You're gonna give out some free chicken fucking sandwiches, right? Then after that, you're gonna come with a whole a scam pandemic. You're gonna let niggas get the Zabawalk, and then they'll do it to themselves. You're gonna thin the herd right then and there. Feel me? So, I mean, niggas looking for signs and symbols. The symbols might be you already going down the tube.
Right.
Or exits is final. Like, this point, like, what else is there to read? You know what I mean? Like, yo, this is why, look, man, it requires those who do not want it to happen to not let it happen. And it's not a physical thing. It is a mental thing.
Explain that, please. Get into that.
So we are cells, right? So we're made up of cells, and we become cells, and those cells gather and congregate amongst each other to create greater things, right? Just organizations, fraternities, sororities, so on and so forth. So in order for those things to happen, everybody has to have the same mindset, right? Like the cells do. The cells have to have the whole same mindset, like the ants do when they show them ants all together and they just rotating. They have to have a singular consciousness. So I personally, I'm not really with none of this doom and gloom shit. The niggas been fucking scaring me since fucking Y2K. I'm off that shit. I want to live like my parents and them talk about with the picket fence and all that good shit. My nigga,
right.
What the fuck? Well, I don't deserve that. I don't already lived through the crack era. Like,
right.
No relief.
Right.
You
feel me? Like, how far we gotta make it, my nigga?
And shit. Yeah, get the fuck out.
We've been in survival mode since 1999. After that Prince party, you niggas had us scared for 2020 Y2K. We've been dodging shit ever since, nigga. 9/11, all that. We've been on our
poison us with that pale horse shit. I was reading that shit in jail when I was a youngster. That shit that got me fucking scared.
Spooky. You feel me?
The nigga Bush was the president again, and I was like, oh, this is what we're about to do. Listen, man, I don't want nothing. I just want to get on the motherfucking boat and drink some Mai Tais, listen to motherfucking Frankie Beverly and the Maze.
Feel me?
Like, man, so I'm like, my thing is, and this is not from just shooting in the dark.
Right.
That shit, when they talk about your mind, that shit is real. Listen, I was sitting in Rikers Island about to get an asshole for a time.
Right.
Red-handed.
Hand in the cookie jar.
My nigga, I woke up one morning like, yo, my nigga Carol Ann did not have me to do this. This ain't my experience. I gotta get the fuck out of here.
Right.
I have to change this right now.
Immediately.
This is not real.
Right.
Turn this
You had
channel.
to phase conjugate.
Yeah, my nigga. I changed the channel.
Mm.
So collectively, if we all agree that, nah, my nigga, that's not the type of future that I want.
That's right. That it definitely starts with that. It's all is mental. It has to start in the mind first, and then
A
it will
better
trickle
tomorrow,
down.
my nigga. Like, remember you talking about them? A better tomorrow, my nigga.
Better tomorrow. That's right. That's right. You could literally change the script. You are writing. You are the quote unquote author, the director, and the star. Real
Yeah, man.
quick, I want to get some questions from my audience before we dip tonight. You know what I mean? They are very active and whatnot. It's about 500 people in the building on the late night. Shout out to all of y'all for riding with us tonight. We appreciate you. Pope Pablo in the Rising. Y'all can look out for that. If you have any questions for my guest tonight, Brother Oba, please feel free to post them in the chat room and I will ask them expeditiously. Once again, shout out to my mods holding it down. And shout out to all of the KTLians. We see you. You dig? Shout out to all of y'all.
Yeah, know the lads. You know, we go back.
In case y'all don't know, Brother Oba is a KTL alumni. He was there with us in our earliest Blog Talk Radio shows. I've salvaged all of those shows just to let you know, Brother Oba.
Oh,
Yes,
yes.
that the archive is safe. It is in good hands, and it will be making a reappearance, remastered. We're going to have a very powerful rollout of those classic episodes. You're going to be very, very pleased as to what is being done. You know, it's going to be an upgrade with the new technology. We're going to merge the two.
Well, no, we're going to be prophesizing from back then. You know, a lot of shit that we were talking about back then, that shit is, you know what I mean, bubbling it's all out the cup right now. You feel me?
Right. Proof, and that's called proof of work. So there's even a value proposition to it. You know what I mean? There should be prizes for the people who were predicting events and occurrences that took place 10 years later. We have to create a value system, and we also have to create a reward system. That is what they refer to as rich data. In the world of data, where they say data is oil, if your data was you predicting some shit that was going to be that took place 10 years later or 5 years later, then that data is more valuable than somebody who's hallucinating on the internet that's speaking of things that did not come true.
You know, all this shit with niggas afterwards, like, oh, I dreamt that. My nigga, if you didn't write that shit down or tell nobody else, that shit sound real good, man. I don't want to hear that shit.
Right.
Out of here with
that shit do not fly. That's
hold
like
on 1 second. Let me go get some juice. Hold on 1 second. I'm just go get me some juice real quick. Hold on.
That's an ostrich, man. It cannot fly. I do want y'all to write a question in the chat room if you do have it for the good brother. I'm sure there's somebody in the audience is sitting on a powerful question. Keep in mind, there's no such thing as a bad question. You know what I mean? This is similar to like prompting ChatGPT or your favorite AI. You would have to prompt it in order to get an output, in order to receive, the gems that are waiting for you. So keep that in mind. It could be related to the Pope. It could be related to the Sinners movie, which we will be doing a full decoding on this week. Just give Blue Pill some time. But in the meantime, KT is going to tackle that on his Patreon tomorrow and whatnot. I don't see too many questions though. I don't see too many. Okay. What's the best way to keep yourself clean spiritually?
Anything. So the best way to keep it is to clean a piece of bread. Pass it over your aura. Throw it to the dirt, not the concrete, to the earth. Right? But the best thing to keep is to have pungent smells, things that smell good, that don't smell like I want to say like things that are molding or going bad.
Okay.
Spirits don't like the smell of specifically pine.
Spirits don't like the smell of pine
at all, because the pine tree, it defeats fucking death. That should be living through the winter.
Right.
It's an evergreen.
Right.
So they don't like that shit.
Right. Henceforth, why they wipe the house down with the pine salt and whatnot.
Or build the
Everything
house with pine wood.
Right.
So spirits don't come in.
That's interesting.
Right? So you know what? There's this bush that people have in front of their house. They call it lucky leaf, but it's a rhododendron.
Mm-hmm.
You'll know it. It's like it has these big green leaves on it, but it makes these flowers. Sometimes they'll be like light purple.
I've seen that.
The rhododendron, old time and black folks plant that shit in front of their house to keep spirits away.
Right.
And so because it's a part of the evergreen family. So anything that's in the evergreen family, or even green herbs that have a pungent smell, like what's that, basil?
Right, basil.
Basil will take some stuff off you. You feel me?
Right. I like that scene in where they were chewing the garlic in the Sinners movie, where she was like, "Yo, you gotta pop that garlic to see if you one of them." I'm like, "Shit, I'm using that." I'm sorry, I'm using that. You got to consume some garlic in front of me, ma. Let's go.
But that's a part of the understanding that garlic gets rid of parasites.
Facts.
And so, really, what they're talking about is these relationships and these behaviors that you get attached to. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The vampire is not necessarily a person in personification that's drinking your blood, but it's a person that's drinking your blood spiritually.
Right.
Yeah, man, like this nigga's you always got to look out for this person. You feel me?
Right.
You find yourself constantly in trouble because of this person. That's just nigga's a fucking vampire. Because this person is inconsiderate. They don't think about what they do and how it affects people around them. And so they're a parasite. And so like they say, old folks say, you could use me, don't misuse me, right?
Right.
So there's good parasites. You might, you get it if you get money and then there's some big nigga that's 6'7" that can fight real well and he just start hanging around and you give him a couple $. He's a parasite, but he's a good parasite. He's not gonna let nobody hurt the host.
Right.
You feel me?
He's a protectorate parasite.
Yeah. And so, even like I watched this thing about in nature. So like plants go through that. So insect that come along be eating on the plant. Plants start to give out a pheromone that'll attract another natural enemy that this nigga have, and contract them to come over here and eat this nigga, get this nigga off me. And then for that, I'll give you a sap.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so, when you understand that, like I said, you could use me, don't misuse me, because everybody got to be used.
Right. To some degree. Either you use or being used.
Because you don't want to be useless.
Right. Oba and Red, did you catch the guitar player was cosplaying Robert Williams and the twins were the Jet Pillars? Is Skeleton Key a better version for voodoo like the Mama Sealy, Oba?
I would if I had to pick between movies, I would pick Skeleton Key. Had a better story.
Easily. They wrote that shit way better.
Yeah, this one, like I said, it was a waste of motifs. The usage of the she wasn't the pillars that because he already confessed that he was using the Ibeji from West Africa as the motif for the red and the blue hat.
Right.
But again, he didn't really. So Ibeji has a magic that is very, very important in our pantheon. They're the only deities to ever defeat death.
Talk about it.
So the story is that death was going from town to town, consuming everybody by way of sickness. And he was on his way to the Ibeji's town in Ondo. And the Ibejis devised a plan. So they dressed up the same and took their drum and went to meet death on the road. And they got to a bush, and one hid in the bush, and the other one sat there on the drum and waited for Death to approach. And so when Death saw them, he says, "Oh, you came to stop me from eating your people." And the twin said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, I challenge you to a duel. I'm going to play this drum, and you're going to dance. And the first one to quit is the loser."
Right.
And Death was like, "All right, let's do it." And so they basically got to playing the drum, and Death got to dancing. And every time Death get to turning, you basically would switch, and one would go in the bush and go to sleep while the other one played the drum. And this went on for 9 moons. That Death realized that Death was wasting time, not eating, fucking around with these twins.
Right.
So Death conceded. And when Death conceded, the other twin came out, and Death was like, "Oh, you're even smarter than I thought you were." Right?
Right.
And so for that reason, they say that when twins will always defeat Death, because twins rarely ever die at the same time.
Right.
So because they're one soul that's been split into 2 vessels, Death never does his job because it didn't get the entire soul until both twins are dead.
Back. Right.
Yeah. And so they could have played with just that motif in itself. That, you know what I mean? That right there is its own story. They could have made the story just about that right there. Right. But they, like I said, it was wasted aesthetics.
Interesting. I have one more question. Can you break down the pouring of libations and calling on the spirits / deities? Is it accurate that some are subordinate to us? Good question.
No, it's not even about being subordinate. It's about courtesy. When someone comes to your home, the first thing you do is offer them some water to drink.
Right.
And so when interfacing with deity, spirit, or whatever, the first thing that we offer is cool water as an etiquette. Right? It's not a subordinance. The reality is that they say that we stand on the roof of our ancestors. Right? And so this is why we pour to the floor. So that we pour down to them. There's no subordinates in any of that. There's only reciprocity in African traditionalism. Right? Reciprocity so that you pay to keep death away.
Right.
You feel me?
Right.
That's the bottom line.
Okay, interesting. You pay to keep death away. All right, I got one more. Is there a relative dynamic in this book series that relates to Easter / Ishtar or the life, death, and resurrection?
Unfortunately, no. My motif that I'm using is from my tradition. I don't indulge in other things because I'm not expert in those, and I have a pledge allegiance to them, unfortunately. Because my tradition has enough of its own folklore and enough philosophy to stand on its own, so I don't really require the influence of other theological motifs to tell my story. This story, like I said, is based on the attributes of the people of the diaspora finding the ability or playing with this magic in an urban and modern world in the context of what is juxtaposed to our reality, but it's not our reality.
Right. Okay. My good brother Dejet has a question. He said, can he speak on the power of Veves?
The power of Veve. So, in my tradition, that Veve is a uniquely Vodun mechanism. But within Palo Mayombe and Orisha, they have something close to that. But in the context of Congo, and really in Congo, it is not really the same. So in Congo, it is to call the different medicines and the different energies to the location that you are in, to interface with them, to make a pact with them, right?
Right.
Sometimes the ideograms are used as a means to particularly change the stargates so that it's a flare that goes up into the universe and the universe conforms to it. Okay? So when he talks about Veve and Vodun, Veve is their ability, because in Vodun their deities don't necessarily stay in vessels. And so the ability to draw this launch pad for them to descend upon, where their energy is there at that moment, and then when they don't need it, it can send back into the celestial. That's the difference between us in terms of Lukumi, in contrast to Vodun. Our deities are tangible with us; they stay with us, and it is our job to placate them, right? And this is kind of like spiritual credit, because in the Lukumi system, at some point they believe that you will be in the stone and somebody will worship you.
Eventually.
Yeah.
Last question. In line with his implementation of sigils in his story, can he speak on power of sigils and activating them with candles and water?
Well, what do you mean? I mean, you have to for every program you have to have a password.
Right.
And somebody has to give you the password. And so when doing these things in terms of activating them, one must have first the credentials, and then secondly the license, as we saw. And so in Pablo they talk about licencia, license. Who gave you license, right? So that you can have somebody to pull on as a witness or collateral,
right,
for this deed that you want performed. It's like almost like what's the John Wick,
right,
coins and shit.
Right.
Okay, so you go and you want to get a hit made done, and you hire somebody. It's gonna cost you a coin.
Right.
You feel me? And so this is what I meant when I said earlier. It's a reciprocal relationship. It is not subjective. It's not or
service. Yeah, like a subservice.
Nah, we don't do that. It is a give and take, because and so like a lot of people be talking about this being the hell, and I don't necessarily agree with that. And my traditions don't talk about that. They actually talk about this planet being the resort. That you have a choice here, and in that choice, you can do whatever the fuck you want. Now, there's consequences to your choices, right? But there's no wrong choices. And when you are in the ethers, you don't have any choices. You are bound by the laws of the universe.
Facts.
Right? And so they say that this is the resort, because here we can eat, drink, laugh, smoke, fuck, lie, steal, rob,
a range of things. Right.
Everything. They can't do that. They are all in the service of the Almighty, and they cannot bend from their forces or the laws that they are subject to.
Would that be similar to how we see animals that are programmed on this planet? But they're basically following their
they have to follow their nature.
Their nature, right.
They have to follow their nature. And to follow their nature is to free. See, when they talk about all of that highest level stuff, you're talking about when you're instinctive to the point where you know what you're doing is in line with the Almighty. So like there used to remember I used to have this phrase. I used to say, "Talking monkeys can't peel bananas." Right? Monkeys ain't supposed to talk. So when you stop being able to peel banana, you ain't fucking being a monkey. You're not being natural to yourself. Right? You busy
not authentic.
You busy doing some shit that ain't your monkeys ain't supposed to talk. They don't need to.
Right.
So talking monkeys can't peel bananas. You lose your nature. You can't eat now because you don't know what your nature is, and so you can't sustain yourself with the simple things because you're so complicated that you're talking.
Right.
Instead of peeling the goddamn banana, you dig?
Right, like the way that they domesticated man to take him out of his quote unquote, primal nature. And things that I want to point something out before we get out of here, an observation that I'm going to build upon further when we get into the decoding of the Sinners movie with me and Blue. But I walked away with a very clear message that was shown by Ryan Coogler about the relationships that we have with people who are not from our tribe, and bringing people into the fold of our juke joint, right? Our private affairs, our ceremony, our ritual and whatnot, which was what they were setting up the juke joint to be. You see in the movie throughout the whole day, they were meticulously working together. The twins were in, they were working together to put together this ceremony, to put together the opening of this quote unquote venue that turned out to be a slaughterhouse, right? And when you watch the movie, this is a spoiler alert, it's the white woman who let everybody in. Look, it was the white woman that wasn't even supposed to be there because they was trying to get her out, right? They was trying to get her out from the door. She wasn't even supposed to be in the joint. She was not supposed to be in the venue. She was supposed to get on the train, to be honest with you, from the onset when she seen homie at the train station. But it was her and her lust. Remember, she bodied she bodied homie, the red twin, because he fell to the lust when he was supposed to stand on business and pack her up and tell her, nah, get up out of here. She went amongst the vampires and was game goofy, right? The same thing happens with these athletes who have European women in Hollywood, or these actors and whatnot, or these rappers and whatnot. It's usually your Becky that let the vampire in. The Becky brought the vampire to you in a way of a three-way, or she's the one who brought the vampire into your house, or she's the one who brought the lawyer or somebody to bind you in contract, or somebody to poison you, or the drug dealer who sold you bad. She's the one who let the quote unquote evil in, because in the movie Cassie. They show you,
Cassie.
Because in the movie it shows you that they can't get in unless you allow them in. They can't get in unless you invite them in, right? Mm-hmm. Death cannot enter unless you say, nah, come on in. You feel me? Kardashian. So it was two women in the movie that allowed the enemy in amongst our people who were basically on code, right? Because, we're going to get the garlic. We're going to get the gun. We're going to get the steak. We all good. Lock in. Then what did the Asian women do? She said, nah, fuck that. Come in.
It got fried like a chicken
wing. Right? She let them in. And the Asian woman let them in, and the European let them in, right? So keep that in mind when people realize what the hell is going on, why we quote unquote are in certain conditions we are in. The juke joint turned into a DEI spot. It was a DEI juke joint. It was a DEI juke joint when it was supposed to be a segregated juke joint where we are amongst one another. Yo. Right? Then they were trying to push the diversity thing. The vampires were like, yo, we all one family, right? The vampire said, I know what he's thinking. We share the same hive mind. I think like him. Then when he was dancing and everything, the Irish dude, they were doing the Irish dance and the Irish song with him.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Similar to how our people get assimilated into these weird cultures and whatnot, and basically get taken over and become clones of a foreign culture, following the quote unquote lead, the Pied Piper, following they're being vampired. They sign them to these contracts. That's vampirism. They lock them in. That whole shit looked like corporate America. They were like, yo, we free. You should come with us. Come with me, we free. And they sitting there dead, right? Corporate America, corpse, right? He's sitting there with holes in his neck. They half dead and whatnot, saying, nah, come over here, come to this side. It's great. That's a nigga telling you to sign to a label. That's motherfucker shorty that divested telling you to come over to the white side, right? That's these weird niggas telling you, nah, come over here with these Beckys. It's good over here. but you dead, homie. You literally got bit by a vampire. You're done. That your essence is gone. Your aura has been compromised. You're not even who your mama can't even recognize you.
Yeah.
So that's just a little observation, but we'll go further into these things.
Nah, like I said, they got the better version is the Rites of Passage of Taiwan Cayenne. Go get that. I promise you will not be you know what I'm saying, disappointed.
What was the website for that book again? Okay, it was
Omidina Productions.
And that's .com?
Omidina.com.
Okay.
You feel me?
Okay. All right. Let me write that in the chat room so they could go and check that out. Let them know if there's a social media that they could get in contact with you as well. We are. Before I say that, me and you was building this strong. We actually gonna do a hip hop show. I want to bring you on for a hip hop conversation because you had a very interesting take on hip hop through 50 Cent and some other things. I caught some of your lives. You were definitely touching on some shit that I think our audience would be very interested in hearing. So that's going to be coming up very soon and whatnot. But let them know where they can find you at online.
So when you go on IG, I'm under Ekun7, EKUN7, right? And then the other one is Omidina Productions. We got the page. That's where we're giving out the good. That's connected. We'll keep you connected to the little Patreon shit and all that. Because I got the classes and all that. I've been had classes and all this stuff. Like I said, I don't put all of the bells and whistles on that. It's very bare. It's real, right to the point.
Right.
We dealing with spiritualism. I'm not selling no Orisha nothing. I got Orisha.
Right.
Get with me, and you know what I mean. Then you too could have some Orisha, but I'm not selling that. I don't sell that. But
do you offer readings?
Yeah, I offer readings on person. I charge $100 is $200 on the phone, and the reason for that is you pay for the convenience of the phone because that is not the custom. It is really custom for you to get up out your house and go get your reading so that you know what I mean. That's a part of you trying to save yourself. But if you feel like you want a motherfucker to be convenient and all that, then when you pay the extra $100,
that makes sense. Makes sense.
You know what I'm saying? You paying for the convenience because that's not the custom.
That's not the custom. Correct.
You feel me? So, but I could read you over the phone. Shit, I give you a hell of a reading over the phone. But it's just that's not the custom, and I bent the custom because of the scamdemic. You feel me?
Right. No doubt. All right, man. So, yeah, I want to say once again, my brother, because we are at the 2-hour mark. I don't want to hold you hostage and whatnot. People is asking about shrooms. I don't think he sells shrooms. I don't know. I don't know
where they got that shit from.
Yeah, let's not do that. You know what I mean? Y'all making the guy hot.
About that shit.
Yeah, we don't.
I smoke reefer, but I don't sell no reefer. You feel me?
As you can tell, you feel me? Like
if
you need that, you know what I mean? You might want to tap in with the God. But if y'all,
I'm selling spirituality. That's what I'm selling. You know what I mean?
I highly recommend his readings, family. I highly recommend the brother's readings. If y'all are in the ATL, you know how I've spoken about the misuse of spirituality in Atlanta, family. You know that I've been adamant about saying that this shit is backwards and crooked out here. However, I could stand on business and say that the brother OBA is on point with his readings, going all the way back to New York City and all the way down here. A lot of the brothers and sisters in our network who do thorough work have the brother as a consultant, a spiritual consultant. So just keep that in mind. I'm definitely stamping his connections. If you know, you know. But yeah, with that being said, let's support the book. Let's support his creations. Let's support his let's support his output. And let's bring these this literature into our household and into our educational curriculum so we can teach the babies the magic.
This is my NFT. My NFT is that if you go out there and get this book and you enjoy it and you spread the love, that maybe we could get this shit on the screen or something like that. Then you could have that, you know what I'm saying, the credit of being like, you know what, I read that book and I was there when that shit was, you know what I'm saying, just an idea. But, you know what I mean, like I said, if you, because I ain't, you know, fair exchange, no robbery. I ain't selling no fucking fake, you know what I'm saying, get rich schemes. I ain't doing none of that shit. I sell books,
Right.
You know what I'm saying, culture and content. That's it. You dig?
Indeed. Definitely. Culture and content, y'all. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we will get back to you. Like I said, Pope Pablo tomorrow on Tuesday, Techno Tuesdays with me in Spin City. That is also tomorrow. We also have Third Eye Thursdays coming up. We have a very, 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 very special announcement. We will be making it on Thursdays. Look out for that. You know, the journey continues, y'all. You know what I'm talking about? And it's only getting started. You know, spring is starting off with a bang. The New Year's is starting off with a bang. You know what I'm saying? So much going on. This shit is up. If y'all have the opportunity, go and check out Wesley Muhammad. He did an add-on to the classic that we did with Brother Rich. He did a complimentary video to add on. It's like a part 2 to what we did. Also check out the upload that I have on this channel. Make sure you hit the like button. I uploaded a video around 6 a.m. this rising, dealing with the anniversary of 48 Pillars of Power, which is a classic mixtape that we put out last year on 420 and whatnot. So we have a little behind the scenes, playing some of the music and things like that. Check that out. That's on the channel. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit the like button. You know what I mean? Here is a user review. You know what I mean? Nothing better than a user review. User-generated content right here. This is golden. Had a reading from Brother Oba, and it was amazing.
Gunshot.
I mean, but yeah, we coming back for a hip-hop talk, Oba, so we're going to go fully hip-hop with it.
Yeah, we're gonna drop some breadcrumbs on their ass.
That's right. Because y'all know when I be talking about the when I get in the time machine, Oba was right there as well. When I talk about the 90s in New York and the tunnel and all of that, Oba was outside. I can't say that for so many people. I can say that for A.A. Rashid. I can't say that to too many people, but I can say that the Oba was there. So he has a full conceptual understanding of the culture through the lens of somebody who was outside. He didn't have to read the Source magazine, and he doesn't have to speculate. This is from the concrete. This is concrete consciousness. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we will see you. Thank y'all for your time on this beautiful show, late night. You know what I mean? We'll see y'all very soon. Peace, love, and light.
Love and progress.
Peace. One. Somebody said, is he in Atlanta? Yes, he is in the A. Yes, he is. All right. So reach out to the good brother. All right. Peace, love, and light.
Red, blue, purple light. Friends. Red, blue, purple light. Friends. Facts. Red, blue, purple light. Friends. Red and blue, purple light. Friends. Facts. You can get to know the ledger, sacrilegious Sunday to melanin Monday. You can get to know the ledger, my love. Just open your third eye on Thursday. Lord, the food, the art, the clothes, the Vatican's getting exposed fast. We put the show on the road. You better stay on your toes. I was till the land focused on the ego. Then I open my heart, let go of the ego. Grand after grand, we stacking up these C notes. Facts, facts, yeah. We gon' put this shit on our back. city, pull up where we at. Peace, love and light. Peace, love to the family. Peace, love and light to the family. Peace, love and light to the family.
These days and time, black man, is going to be the time that you have been waiting for. You came here for a reason. Whatever pressure, whatever adversity, whatever the fuck you feel, I don't know what you feel, but whatever you may be feeling is going to push you, and it's going to provoke you, and it's either going to make you or break you, similar to how pressure busts pipes or the shit makes diamonds.